ಈಗ ಉದ್ಘಾಟಕರ ನುಡಿಗಳು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಶೋಕ್ ದಳವಾಯಿ ಸಾಹೇಬರಿಗೆ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಆತ್ಮೀಯವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ನುಡಿಪೀಠಕ್ಕೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಒಂದೆರಡು ನುಡಿಗಳಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ಣಗಳು ಚಡಪಡಿಸುತ್ತೇವೆ. ದಯಮಾಡಿ ನುಡಿಪೀಠಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಂದೆರಡು ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಹಂಚ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ಸರ್. ಅಶೋಕ್ ದಳವಾಯಿ ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಸಂಕ್ಷಿಪ್ತ ಪರಿಚಯವನ್ನು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಿ ಐ ಬೆಣಗಿ ಸಾಹೇಬರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಬೆಣಗಿ ಸಾಹೇಬರು ನುಡಿಪೀಠಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಬೇಕು.
ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಸೀನರಾದಂಥ ಗಣ್ಯಮಾನ್ಯರೇ ಮತ್ತು ವೇದಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಕೆಳಗಿದ್ದಂಥ ಗಣ್ಯಮಾನ್ಯರೇ, ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಶೋಕ್ ದಳವಾಯಿ ಅವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಆದರೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸಭಿಕರಿಗೆ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಉದ್ದೇಶಿಸಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳೋದು ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಶೋಕ್ ದಳವಾಯಿ ಅವರು ಮೂಲತಃ ಕೌಜುಲಿ ಗ್ರಾಮದವರು. ಕೌಜುಲಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲೈತಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಬೆಳಗಾವಿ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆ ಐತಿ. ಅವ್ರ ಊರ ನಮ್ಮೂರು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಆಜು ಐತಿ. ಸೊ ಇವರು ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಹಿ ಈಸ್ ಎನ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಎಕನಾಮಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಅವರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ, ನಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ. ಇವರು IAS ಅನ್ನು 1984ರಲ್ಲಿ ಇವರು ಸೇರಿದರು. ಬಿಫೋರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟೆಡ್ ಇಸ್ BSc ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ MS Agri at UAS ಧಾರವಾಡ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಪ್ರೆಸ್ಟೀಜಿಯಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅಸ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಟು ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ many of the reforms to the rural agrarian sectors in Odisha as well as Karnataka. He has implemented PPP model, means public private partnership models in the transformation projects in case of urban administrations. He was pioneer in BATF ಅಂದರೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಅಜೆಂಡಾ ಟಾಸ್ಕ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂದರೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಬ್ರೇನ್ ಬಿಹೈಂಡ್ ಅವರೇ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹಿ ಈಸ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ಡೆವಲಪಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಿಪ್ಲಾಯಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಟ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಫಾರ್ ಬಯೋಮೆಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಎನ್ರೋಲ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಈಗೆಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಬಯೋಮೆಟ್ರಿಕ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅವರೇ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಕಾರಣ. ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ದ DDG ಫಾರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫಿಕೇಷನ್ UDAI. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ 2003. ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇವರು ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಅಂತ ಇದಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಲ್ಲ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇವರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ಈಗ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟೆಡ್ ಥ್ರೂಔಟ್ ದ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಅವರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಲೈವ್ ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ 2017ದಲ್ಲಿ ಇವರ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ದಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಆ್ಯಡೆಡ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಎ AP LMC ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ತಕ್ಷಣ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ 2018. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಫ್ರೇಮ್ಡ್ ದ ಗೈಡ್ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣ ರೂರಲ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ CEO ಆಫ್ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ರೇನ್ಫೆಡ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟೀಸ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸರ್ವ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಕ್ವಲೆಂಟ್ ಟು ದ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿ ಟು ದ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಚೇರ್ಮನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇಂಟರ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ಕಮಿಟಿ ಫಾರ್ ಡಬ್ಲ್ಯೂ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ಸ್, ಈಗಾದರೂ ಅವರಾದರು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಷ್ಡ್ 14 ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಆಸ್ ವೆರಿ 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 valuable and recognized as a most comprehensive and evidence-based strategies. Now, sir is chairman of empowered body and ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಅವಾರ್ಡ್ಗಳು ಅವ್ರು ಬೆನ್ನತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವಾರ್ಡ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅವಾರ್ಡ್ಗಳು ಬೆನ್ನತ್ತಿದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಇವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕಂಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ಧಾರವಾಡ ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹಾನರರಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ಧಾರವಾಡ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಈಗ ಹಿ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕಮಿಟಿ. ನಮ್ಮದೊಂದು ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಚೇಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಫುಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಕಮಿಟಿ, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ತಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು, ICFA ಅಂತ. ಅದರದ್ದು ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಅದಾರ. ಈ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಪಾಲಿಸಿಗಳನ್ನು ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಇವರೊಬ್ಬರು ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಸ್. ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಪ್ರೌಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಹಿ ಈಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅವರ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್.
ಆ್ಯಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಇಟ್, ನಾನು ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯ, ಬಹುಶಃ ಅವರು ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ಭಾಷಣದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಮಿಟಿಯವರು. ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯು ಯಾವ ದಿಶೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಗಿದರೆ, ಅವರ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡ್ರೀಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಎ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಬಾಡಿ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ರೈತರ ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರ ಕುಂದುಕೊರತೆಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಅವನ್ನು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಗಮನ ಸೆಳೀಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳು ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ಡ್ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ, ಅವನ್ನ ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ರಿನೋವೇಟೆಡ್ ವೇ, ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ನು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಗೈಡ್ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಏನೇ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಣಗಿ ಸರ್ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಕಮಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಆಗಲೇ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾಸು ಸುಮಾರು ಕನ್ಸೀವ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, ತಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಗಮನಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನು ತರ್ತೀವಿ. ಈ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಇದು ಯಾವ ದಶೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಗಬೇಕನ್ನೋದು ಕೂಡ ತಮ್ಮ ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ಭಾಷಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಇಚ್ಛೆ ಪಡ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಅಶೋಕ್ ದಳವಾಯಿ ಸಾಹೇಬರ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ VI ಬೆಣಗಿ, ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥಾಪನಾ ಸಮಿತಿ ಸದಸ್ಯರು ಹಾಗೂ ವಿಶ್ರಾಂತ ಕುಲಪತಿಗಳು, ಕೃಷಿ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯ ಧಾರವಾಡ, ಇವರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಈಗ ಅಶೋಕ್ ದಳವಾಯಿ ಸಾಹೇಬರ ಒಂದೆರಡು ನುಡಿಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಆಲಿಸೋಣ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. President of the Institute, Dr. Madam Nandini, Vice Presidents Dr. Manteshappa, Dr. Rudgi, Treasurer Dr. Umesh, the prestigious awardee of the day, Dr. Srinivas, and former awardee, Dr. Shamrao, and other dignitaries on the stage, all the respected agricultural scientists, technologists, distinguished invitees, ladies, gentlemen, and children. You excuse me, I'm going to speak in English. Maybe I'll also mix it up with Kannada. First of all, let me thank Madam President and her colleagues for inviting me to be with you at this 55th Foundation Day. There are two other very important programs. We are going to listen to the Dr. Puttarudraiah Memorial Lecture to be delivered by Dr. Shamrao. And of course, the Institute is also going to honor people who have become young at 65. So let's first thank with gratefulness the founder of this institute, Dr. H.R. Arkeri, who was the former Vice Chancellor, one of the leading agricultural scientists and policy maker of our state, who also served as member of the National Commission on Agriculture. It is his vision and dream that has made possible for all of us to sit together here under one roof. We also remember with gratefulness Sri Chike Gowda, the former Minister of Agriculture of Government of Karnataka, who is also one of our members being an agriculture graduate. So they too are the builders of this institute. So we remember with gratefulness these two great men. We would also like to remember Dr. Puttarudraiah, who has laid the foundation for a new agricultural science by focusing on biological control measures as alternate to agrochemicals, which is very, very important in this 21st century. Which means that he saw much in advance what the requirements of the future would be. Let us also congratulate Dr. Srinivas, who has won this year's prestigious national award instituted by this institute. So let us give claps to all these three people. It's very nice to see so many of you assembled here. There are 5,800 members of this institute, and they are spread over Karnataka, country, and the world. We produce large number of agriculture graduates every year. So many more can become members of this institute. But I would say that this institute provides a platform for experienced people to contribute. Those who are passing out, those who are in service, are already active in their respective domains. They are already contributing to the furtherance of the cause of farmers in different ways. It could be through academics, through research, through corporate bodies, through extension agencies, through NGOs, social service, and also as practicing farmers. Therefore, this organization can become and should become a platform for experienced people. When I say experienced people, I'm using it as a mild word for people who are retired from active service. And all these retired people constitute a fund of knowledge. We acquire knowledge while studying in the universities. But the knowledge of people like you is richer because it has been tested in the field for 30, 35, 40 years. Since it has been tested, there is sharper understanding of that subject in our mind. And that experience is what is called as wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge plus experience. So knowledge plus experience becomes very, very useful, practical and productive. And why do we think that people who are retired should continue to be active members of the society? Generally, we say that once we are retired, then it's time to spend time with family members, with children and grandchildren. While that is okay, can we still be active and productive members of the society? That's the question. In the year 1947, when India began its tryst to destiny, as our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said, the life expectancy at birth was 32 years. That means one did not expect to live beyond 32 years. Today the life expectancy at birth is 76 years. That is the average. So people like you and me who constitute a better off section of the society, we can expect to live up to 80 years on an average. If people retire at 60, 62 or 65, what do they do till 80? So can we fill some life in these 20 years? The old age people are considered as burden on the society, particularly in those Western societies, including Japan, where the net reproductive rate has come down and the life expectancy has increased to 80 and 90. The largest section of the population is old. So they are a drag on the society because governments have to pay them pensions, have to take care of welfare. and this section of the working population being smaller, they have to bear that responsibility. We in India must draw lessons from those societies. Today, India hosts one of the youngest population. The working population between 15 and 60 is the highest in the world. And we will continue to be the youngest nation till 2050. Therefore, this particular period is called as the period of India, because human resources are more important than natural resources. If natural resources alone were important for growth and development, then Israel would not be an advanced nation. So how do we put to use this human resource? And after 2050, we will start aging. We will have larger section of the society get into the old age, and younger populations will start declining. Now, how do we ensure that India in 2050 is capable of maintaining that larger section of the old? That is possible provided nations become rich. That means we are able to create more wealth. Today we are $3.75 trillion economy. If only nation grows consistently at 8% per annum, then we are expected to reach $32 trillion economy size by 2047-50. And that time the population will be 165 crore. Now assuming that we are 165 crore and our size of the economy is 32 trillion US dollars, we will be what is called a middle level income country. We cannot become a rich country. If we do not grow at 8% average, then we will end up being a low income country. The point I am trying to drive home is that how do we all contribute to our nation to grow at minimum 8% per annum? And that is everybody's responsibility, including those who are in active service and those who are considered as retired but are a fund of knowledge, fund of experience, fund of wisdom, and therefore they can handhold the youngsters. They can be councils, lighthouses, philosophers to the government organizations. So if we need to grow at 8% in the future, agriculture will continue to be very important. If we study the economic history of Western societies, they had agriculture revolution to begin with. For example, agriculture revolution in UK began in 15th century, and that laid the foundation for industrial revolution in 18th century. Likewise in America and other Western countries. So today in those countries, nearly 70% of the population is in the service sector, around 28% in manufacturing sector, and around 2% in agriculture. Now, do you think that in India by 2050, we'll have a situation where only 2% of India's population will be engaged in agriculture? It is not possible. There are two reasons. One is our population is very high. We are still growing. We will be 165 crores. And then our geographical area is relatively smaller. Though we are seventh largest country in terms of geography, in terms of per capita availability of land, per capita availability of water, we are not that blessed. Second one is the manufacturing sector and service sector, who should be absorbing the surplus manpower engaged in agriculture, are going to face two challenges in 21st century, or they are already facing. One is that India is not the only country which is growing. All countries have begun to grow, and then there are countries which are already mature. So whatever you produce, whether it is steel or power or car, automobile, anything we produce, there are already people who are doing very well. You want to produce mobile, China is going to compete. You want to produce automobile, Germany, Japan, USA will be competing. You want to have software, many Southeast Asian countries are also growing. You want to have hardware, China is already advanced. So, we will not be able to grow as fast as Western societies grew in 19th and 20th centuries. Second one is that technology is the new mantra. Artificial intelligence, sensors, IoT, WOT, Chat GPT. There are so many things that are coming up which are all labor substituting. To give you a concrete example, when India put up its steel plant of 1 million ton capacity at Rourkela in Odisha, it had 24,000 number of people engaged. Today, 1 million ton steel capacity plant will not require more than 500 people. Everything is automated. So robotics will be replacing human manpower. So because of these two challenges, India will not be in a position to shift its manpower from agriculture to manufacturing and service sector at the same rate as those countries have done. Today, 45% of India's population is engaged in agriculture. It was 80% in 1947. It has come down to 45%. But 80% of 32 crore in 1947. 45% of 142 crore in 2023. Just see the number. It will be 2 times the population of United States of America. We have 12 crore cultivator families, 14 crore landless agriculture labor. So together 26 crore, 260 million. So my rough estimate is, or guesstimate, let's call it as, that even in 2047-50, not less than 20% of India's population will continue to be engaged in agriculture. So 20% of 165 crore is 30 crore of India's population, which is very high. So population density is going to be very high in agriculture. First thing, let's all remember that. Second one is, agriculture has to grow if we want to improve the life of the farmers. Farmers are still poor. In 1983, if you take farmers, industrial labor and agriculture labor, 3 classes, okay? Farmers, that means cultivators, industrial workers or labor, and agriculture labor, the highest income was that of the cultivator. Then came industrial labor, then came agriculture labor. Today, if we compare these three, number one is industrial labor, number two is cultivator, but the gap between the cultivator and the landless agriculture labor has narrowed. Which means that in the last 40 years, the rate of growth of income of the farmers has not been as good as that of industrial worker and even landless agriculture laborers. So we're all talking of sustainable growth. When you talk of sustainable growth, we only look at ecology, which is very important. But according to me, another sustainability that must be kept in mind is economic returns for the farmers. If the farmers are not getting enough on their investment, then there is no incentive for them to practice agriculture. Therefore, when we are talking about sustainable growth, let's keep in mind two things. How do we ensure that farmers get net positive returns? That means they get real profits from their agriculture. And second, how is it practiced in an ecologically sound manner? These are the two things. This is where I think all our wisdom can be deployed to help the society to practice agriculture in a better way, in a different way. So when we say better incomes, what it means is don't produce at any cost. That means if we are aiming at 1 quintal extra per hectare, that should not be at the cost of higher investment in terms of fertilizer, water and labor. Because marginal rate of returns are decreasing because of ecological degradation. And simultaneously, it cannot be anyhow. That means I don't bother whether it is going to spoil my soil, it's going to use more water, it's going to disturb the organic carbon, it's going to release more greenhouse gases. So two things, at any cost, anyhow. These are the two things that have been practiced so far since particularly 1965. Now onwards, it has to be at rational cost of production so that there is return, there is income, positive income for the farmers. And second, in a ecologically synchronous manner. Here, therefore, what I would suggest is that when this institute aims at taking up projects, aims at advising various agencies on what kind of projects to take up, what policies should the government adopt. The acronym should be EBA, that is Ecosystem-Based Agriculture. EBA, that is the new mantra today the world has begun to talk of. Ecosystem-based agriculture, the basic principle is we look at the entire ecology as one. That is called integrated. Not just integrated pest management, not just integrated nutrient management, but integrated ecosystem management based agriculture. The reason is this ecology, by its very definition, consists of a number of sub-components which are organically linked. Soil system is linked to water system. Soil and water are linked to microorganisms. They together are linked to crop production. They together are linked to land races, wild races. They together are linked to forests. They together are linked to domesticated and wild animals and the larger atmosphere. On earth, in the air and in the water. But what have we done? What mankind has done is, whether industry or agriculture or anything, has looked at everything in a compartmental manner. Agriculture production means managing just soils. Industrial production means just extracting the resources and converting them into some commodities. So in result, we have degraded soils, we have groundwater which has been already drawn so much that it is gone beyond the threshold limit. Then of course greenhouse gases which have resulted in climate change. So the need for EBA is best exemplified by what happened in 2019. In 2019 we were all hit by corona, COVID-19. It was a zoonotic disease, a virus that jumped from animal to the human being and spread across the world. So zoonotic diseases are becoming very, very common, which means that health of the human being is also dependent on the health of the animals. Health of the animals is dependent on the health of the forests. Health of the forests is dependent on the health of the ecology. So friends, ecology-based agriculture EBA is based on one pivot called One Health. One Health, that means health of plants, animals, forests, human beings, and the entire organic, inorganic subcomponents of ecology are all linked to one another. So how we as agriculturists of different disciplines, animal husbandry, fisheries, aquaculture, crop science, horticulture science, plantations, agricultural engineering, how can we contribute to promoting ecosystem-based agriculture? That should be the new mantra. Now, does agriculture contribute to greenhouse gases? Yes, it does. 14% of the total quantum of greenhouse gases are a contribution of agriculture. 14% is very large. So how can we promote alternate technology and alternate management practices such that this 14% gets reduced? Because every domain has got a responsibility to reduce greenhouse gas emission. So please think over how we can achieve higher productivity at lesser cost of production and lower emission of greenhouse gases. So we must ensure lower carbon footprints. So EBA is the new approach. Of course, when we talk of EBA, we may talk about organic farming, natural farming, and so on. So there are different views on that. Can we still sustain higher productivity by deploying alternate technologies vis-a-vis agrochemical-based intensive agriculture? So my own feeling or opinion is that science has no limits. Science can be harvested to achieve whatever hypothesis we adopt. When we start research, the first thing is to write your hypothesis. So are we writing the right hypothesis? If we write the right hypothesis that I want higher productivity at lesser cost of production and lesser carbon footprint, then our research would be in that direction. And therefore, we must be able to achieve higher growth in agriculture, whether in animals or fish, aquaculture or crops or plantation, by deploying alternate technology without compromising the productivity. And the associated with this, of course, is that we have called ourselves, or we call our farmers Annadatas, which means that the role of the farmers has been confined to only giving food. Only giving food, fodder and feed. So we now need to break those boundaries and say our Annadata is going to be a new entrepreneur. Somebody who generates jobs, somebody who produces feedstock for the industries. That means agriculture should now become the new basis for entry into bioeconomy. Bioeconomy based on using bioresources. As we know, both primary produce, grain, or co-produce, the straw, or viscera, or bone, blood, whatever it is, they are all made of the same compounds. We need to process that to achieve the kind of commodity we want. A starch, it can produce different kinds of sugars, whether it's sorghum or sugarcane or maize. So today it is possible for us to use both primary produce and co-produce to produce bioenzymes, biofuels, biocommodities, and therefore the current practice of extracting minerals from the earth and substituting that mineral by bioresources generated on our farms will be the new industrialization. And new industrialization will result in lesser production of greenhouse gases. Therefore, agriculture will contribute to reduction of greenhouse gases first by trying to reduce its own 14% and simultaneously producing raw materials for the new industries based on bioresources. And that is going to be the role of agriculture. Therefore, friends, in 21st century, agriculture has got a new role to play. Agriculture, unlike in the Western countries, is not going to be a reducing size of the economy. Today's 18% contribution to the GDP, GVA can actually go up. So, all of us have a very important role to play. So, I would suggest that the members of IIT meet not just for only such functions, but can there be more regular interactions? It can be fortnightly, monthly. Then we also use virtual platforms. Today, we have virtual platforms where you can connect with all the branches. You can train, reorient. So now, before writing policies, maybe pick up some of the very critical issues. For example, soil management, water management, biological system of pest and disease management, forecasting of pests and diseases, forecasting of prices, forecasting of weather, forecasting of drought, or some endemic diseases. So start writing papers on those things so that it becomes a quick delivery. Many times when you start writing policies, it takes a long time. And many a time when policy documents are submitted to government, nobody reads them. So if we want our output to be useful, small booklets that address specific problems in English and Kannada, and then make a presentation to the concerned departments so that they start making use of them. So since we have a range of expertise here from different disciplines, and since the field conditions require multidisciplinary approach, not just, for example, only agronomist. We may need agronomist and entomologist and soil scientist. We may also require animal husbandry person there. So multidisciplinary smaller teams can be done, and before that there can be a brainstorm where we identify what are the top 10 problems of our state. Can you address those things? To buttress this particular approach, I want to give my own experience in Bangalore City Corporation. The BATF conducted a survey of Bangalore citizens. What are their concerns? If we ask people like you, me, or some industry people or some people on MG Road, they'll tell that we need one, what is that called, flyover at Richmond Circle, or one multi-story car parking on MG Road, garden somewhere. This is what they will say. But can you believe the top 10 concerns, the top concern of the citizens of Bangalore in 1999 was control mosquitoes. Okay? The second concern was control street dogs. Look at that. Now, mosquitoes and street dogs, only maybe some poor people are facing them, and poor, they don't have a voice in policy making. Whereas when we conducted this survey, this came out. So maybe we can also do some kind of a survey. It can be secondary database survey also. What are the top 10 critical concerns of agriculture? Why agriculture of Karnataka is not growing at a robust rate? Can we change the rate of growth from 3% to 6%? Or can we make it 7%? In order to make 7%, which are those crops, which are those animal husbandry sectors where the growth is actually constrained? And what intervention to make there? So maybe that may be a good approach, because we have experts. And as we start working on this, with support from universities, of course, we can take the help of agriculture universities and also ICR centers, institutes here. I think then government or extension agencies and people will start finding us very useful. Today I don't know what is the perception of the government agencies as regards our institute. Do they think that we are useful? Do they want to take us as members of various policy making committees? Whenever they make committees, do they ask the president of IIT, can you suggest some names? They will ask provided they think that we are useful. And many times they don't know that such a body exists. So I think to begin with, the president and a few seniors can go meet Secretary Agriculture, Horticulture, Animal Husbandry, Finance, and tell them we are here. And this is our capability. We are willing to work with you. All right, and these are the concerns we would like to take up. So I will end up here, because there are others to speak, by emphasizing that agriculture is the future of India. Agriculture has to be remandated, not just as a producer of food and fodder, but as a generator of employment, as a generator of income, because employment and income are linked together. We can keep having welfare packages, but that is not sustainable. Income via employment is more sustainable. So even government will appreciate if we are able to generate jobs and productive jobs. So thank you very much. Congratulations to all of you. And I would like to thank personally for giving me this opportunity, madam. And all of you are my friends. And of course, we will meet more often. And whatever little I can do always, it will be my privilege. Thank you. Namaskar.
you.